Hey everyone, so I wanted to make a video about Black women and colorism from a consciousness manifestation perspective because I feel like it's important for us to not get carried away by the things that are being projected in our reality. Now, obviously, we're creating our reality, so if we're seeing something, it's an indication of our own personal belief systems, but it's also a combination of society's beliefs and that mass consciousness of what's accepted within society. So it can be tricky to be able to distinguish the separation between that and figure out how you want things to go for you or what reality you want to exist in. But you still have all the power to decide, okay, if this is something I don't like, how can I withdraw my focus from that and experience a more unified, peaceful reality? And I know I want to talk about releasing beliefs, limiting belief systems. It's kind of contradictory to even say that because the nature of a belief system is to limit you to certain experiences that coincide with that belief. Meaning, if you feel like you're not good enough on some level, what do you think is going to be reflected in your reality? Things that prove that you don't feel good enough about yourself, or in this case with colorism, feeling disadvantaged because the color of your skin. To have that belief system ingrained in you will cause you to filter life experiences through that lens. And especially in the Black community, we've been through so many things historically that have caused us to question our worth and value, and many times that was based off how we looked. Depending on how far back you want to go, we know that there have been biases and prejudices and things like that based on how you look, and it's a very common thing in certain cultures to do that. But just because those experiences have happened doesn't mean that it has to be true, or it doesn't mean anything about your value and your worth. So the hard part is, how do you exist in a world where a lot of people are buying into that and still maintaining your own balance, your sense of self, and your self image? So that's what I wanted to talk about, just more from a neutral perspective, how to reel yourself back in and focus on your inner truth, your belief system, so you don't feel disempowered or discouraged just because of your appearance, and just because other people have judgments and biases, how you don't have to let that affect you and your way of life. So let's get into it. So before we get into colorism, I wanted to talk about our assumptions, because we have to understand the nature of reality and how it works before we address our issues and things that we want to change. So I was watching a video from Tom Karen, and he said something kind of profound. So I'm just going to read it and then elaborate. So you assume that what you consciously think, believe, and assume is somehow less powerful because you have been taught that is not what forms your life. You have been told that regardless of your beliefs, you are terrorized by unconscious conditioning. As long as you hold that belief, you will experience that as reality. And this was important because I had been doing affirmations, wanting to change certain things, and I was feeling discomfort because I'm still observing, external things that kind of go against that. And I've always felt like I've had this inner battle of my beliefs versus what society believes, my parents' beliefs, or people outside of me. And if we don't understand that we are the power behind everything in our reality, it's going to be hard to experience the manifestations that we want. So this just goes to the idea that some of us aren't fully accepting and aware of the fact that our assumptions, our beliefs are powerful enough to affect everything in our external reality, because most of us haven't really been living under the awareness or assumption that we form our life based on what we believe. So in terms of colorism, if we accepted that as truth about life and reality, and you decide to manifest no more negative experiences or biases or judgments or whatever in terms of colorism, you might have an inner discomfort or inner struggle because you'll feel like, how am I supposed to believe that colorism doesn't exist in my reality when I'm still experiencing these things or still seeing these things outside of you? The problem isn't that those things are going on outside of you. The problem lies at the core of your beliefs about how life works, your belief in yourself as a manifester, as the creator of your reality. So it's not that it's contradicting the truth or you're lying to yourself if you decide you want to have a unified, peaceful existence and experience. It's that you don't fully know or understand your role as the creator in your life. And how he was saying that we're terrorized by unconscious conditioning, I feel like in a way we're being terrorized by the colorism and the conditioning of division that society has created for us. And again, even with that, we're assuming that society's impressions are more powerful than our own inner decision to be at peace and experience a world that's kind to us and loving towards us, no matter our complexion. So I thought that was very important to bring up before I talk about the definition of colorism and how we see it play out and things like that. But again, we are so powerful that we don't have to be afraid of the things that we're seeing outside of ourselves, because essentially we're being afraid of ourselves. We're unconsciously creating and manifesting 24/7, 365 days a year. Like, we never stop manifesting. It's literally more just about redirecting your focus and awareness on that power and recognizing that there is no unconscious conditioning. We are the ones who are constantly flowing our attention towards whatever it is that we're focused on. So we have to understand that we're experiencing reality based on what we believe to be true, what we have accepted internally. So the main thing is that when we learn about manifestation and law of assumption, we go from life is something that just happens to me, circumstances happen to me, and switching over to this is a reflection of my own assumptions. This is a reflection of who I'm being, what I believe to be true in relationship to everything that's around me. And you don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to feel blame or beat yourself up about it. It's just gentle reminders of, okay, this is what you're focusing on. This is an assumption that you had that you didn't realize. And it's just understanding that the sense of separation we feel in relationship to life is not actually there. It's just there in terms of whatever beliefs that we are holding on to. But once you step into assumptions and manifestation, you dissolve any sense of separation. So it's just reminding yourself that your validation comes from within, with who you say you are, and that's enough for you to make a change. So, like I was saying, in terms of belief system, if you have the colorism integrated into your beliefs about how life works and how you're treated, you're going to experience things that match that. So, obviously, if you're feeling like you're being given disadvantages or being treated unfairly and things of that nature within your ethnicity or even just in society in general, all of that is a full package. Because, like I said, how about beliefs work, they come with, feelings, they come with thoughts, they come with manifestations and experiences and circumstances that support that belief. And it's reinforcing too. So when you continue to see things, you're going to see it as validation of what you already believe to be true. So you might go online or come across people who are either confirming what you believe to be true, or even if that wasn't the intention behind whatever it is that you're perceiving, you still perceive it through your belief system because, like I said before, beliefs are limiting in nature. So you're limited to that viewpoint, and you're going to continue to look at things through that lens, even if that's not what it is, because reality in itself has no built-in meaning, but we filter it through our belief systems, which is how individuals can gain different experiences from life because of whatever their perception and assumptions are. So that's why I put your beliefs equal your reality, because you don't need other people around you as validation of what you believe. We might come together and have some, collective agreements, and obviously colorism seems to be one of them, especially going back in history for Black people. We've gone through so many struggles, slavery, and things historically that have impacted our mental conditioning and our self image. So, those are just one of the things that might have been integrated in societies culturally to kind of keep people in this illusion of being oppressed and being in places of disempowerment. But the power of, law of assumption and manifesting and creating your reality is realizing that you can decide that that doesn't exist for you, and then have life show you that it's no longer an issue. It's about changing your state of mind, your state of consciousness, and what you believe to be true about life and about yourself and about other people as well. Because you have the power to influence how others are towards you too. And that's an assumption that's ingrained in, this belief system of colorism. If it's something that's affecting you harshly or to the point where it's really making you feel down and unworthy and things of that nature. Because for me, like I was saying, being light skinned, people would have those assumptions. Even family members would have assumptions. In my mind, I've never even viewed them in a way where I thought they were less than or better than or anything. I just never had an opinion of it. It was just, like I said, me struggling with my own personal insecurities about not feeling good enough, because that's just an image I've always held of myself. And I hadn't realized that it wasn't people judging me. It was my own negative assumptions about what I thought people believed about me. And again, that comes back to how powerful I am as a creator to experience that belief system and filter that through everything in my life. And I'm at the point where I'm letting that go, but the tricky part is still coexisting with other people in their realities and not feeling kind of guilty that I'm able to have like a peaceful, happy existence where I don't believe in colorism to the degree that other people are experiencing it, because people will sit there and argue with you and say, oh, well, why don't you believe that? Or it really is true. The point of your belief system isn't to force people to experience it. The best I can do is just set my own intentions about how life works. Because that's another thing that people get mixed up in manifestation. They feel like they need to convince everybody around them to believe in it. And instead, you're just shifting to the reality where colorism never existed. People got along. Maybe the Black community was more unified instead of believing in these divisive belief systems that are separating us instead of bringing us together. But it's really about changing yourself. And when you change, everything else changes automatically. Because, like I said, belief systems reinforce themselves. So I just wanted to talk about the definition now, because it's just basically saying that it's prejudice or discrimination, especially within a racial ethnic group, favoring light skin over dark skin. And I know that the Black community has gone through so many things historically that have kind of built this belief system to what it is now, and why people are still experiencing this type of prejudice. But I think it could also go both ways as well, because you'll hear people pretty much argue and do anything not to be classified as light skinned, just based off whatever hatred or jealousy or fears or whatever discrimination that is already pinned against light skinned people. And people have all sorts of assumptions on both sides about complexions. And honestly, I don't even really know where it really originated, but just in terms of bringing awareness to it and being able to step into a place more of unity and peace and acceptance of each other, we really just have to be aware of, at least starting with ourselves, where is this coming from and what it really means to me in terms of my self-image. But it's basically a comparison depending on what kind of community you're in, because you could be living in a predominantly white community, and if you're light skinned, they would call you dark skinned, because compared to them, you're the darkest person that's in the community. But on the other hand, you could be in a predominantly dark skin community and be quote unquote brown skin, and compared to them, you'll be light. And people will still find different labels and ways of trying to classify them to not be labeled as something because of the negative assumptions that is believed to be said about a particular complexion. So it really just creates a lot of division unnecessarily. And after a while, you kind of have to sit back and like be like, what's the point of this? What are we actually achieving by dividing ourselves up, by comparing? It's really just circulating hatred, insecurities, a lot of negativity, which is distracting from the larger part of us being more unified enough to, be big enough to make changes for the Black community in general, or even for any ethnicity that experiences this, because I know it's other cultures that do that too. But it's just something that we need to take away from our identities, feeling like we need to compare skin types. Like your complexion doesn't have any meaning about anything. It's never supposed to be something that gives you such of a negative self-image to the point where you literally hate people that you don't even know. Like, to think that you could come up and hate someone that's a complete stranger to you just based off of one trait that they have, when you are judging them before you even got to know them. You don't even know if they actually are colorist and prejudiced, but you've just had this inner hatred or whatever it is to say, I already don't like them because how they look. And then you're mad that other people have done that to you, but you've had that assumption about someone you didn't even give a chance yet. We have to take accountability for our own biases and judgments and discrimination, because we can't be fighting for peace and equality, but look at the way that we are in our own community, and you're trying to fight for equality and we don't even have ourselves together. Like, it's definitely very hypocritical, and I feel like we need to do better. So I think just being aware and conscious of your own insecurities and assumptions versus how other people actually are. 9 times out of 10, it's not even the other people, but in terms of manifestation, we know that everyone is you pushed out. So if people are treating you poorly, it's because you have a negative self-image of yourself to where you assume people are going to treat you badly. And I know it's not just black and white, but if you're in the manifestation community and you really understand how the law works, then you understand that you can't be in victim mentality and be an empowered creator at the same time. You have to pick one or the other. And even being in victim mentality, that's you still using your creative power to be a victim to your reality, your circumstances, or how people treat you. And I know there are more severe cases for other people, so you can't just assume that it's so easy to overcome that. But my point is that it's not impossible. So obviously this is a continuation because I didn't really specifically talk about what it looks like in terms of manifesting through the belief system of colorism, but obviously it's not something that you really even need to question. People know what it looks like to be treated with bias and be discriminated against, but it really is something that you have to step back in terms of seeing it as a consciousness, as its own entity. It's something that's creating the illusion of separation and division, because if you're going from being unconscious, not knowing about manifestation, you'll have the assumption that people are attacking you and that life isn't fair and that this is, something that you're suffering with because of the way that you look. But then when you switch over to being aware and knowing what law of assumption means in terms of how life works for you, then you'll understand this person that's expressing my belief that colorism exists is a reflection of my internal belief system. And that's okay, but you can change that belief system to where you don't see that person in that way, where you don't have those expectations, and people will reflect that. It's not that you're changing people and their ideals, it's that you are putting yourself in another reality where people treat you fairly, where they're not biased and prejudiced against you because of how you look. But if you continue to feel that way within yourself, it's not that it's true, it's that within the belief system that you have, that has no other choice but to be reflected back to you. So you're still feeling excluded and separate from your reality, and that's what you're going to continue to manifest. That's what that looks like when you feel you're separate and powerless to change. So another thing is questioning your racial authenticity. So being light skinned myself, I could understand how that feels, because I didn't feel like I fit in the black community because of um I don't fit the stereotypical, um I don't know what to call it. I don't fit the stereotypical look or attitude or behavior that some people have. I don't want to sound wrong or get eat up in comments if this does get big, but people assume that black people are ghetto, they're loud, and all these other things. That's another form of prejudice, to expect that people act a certain way just because of their ethnicity. But I definitely felt like I didn't really fit in. And I know it's not necessarily because of how people treated me, but that was just my expectation. And I always had this feeling of being an outsider, or like I don't belong. So that was just one of the ways that it was reflected. And I had to figure out, how do I accept myself if I don't feel like my community is even coming together, and all you're seeing is people arguing about all these things, instead of figuring out how we can come together and overcome it, and understand that we are all naturally born worthy. We're born perfect for who we needed to be and how we need to express ourselves physically within our community, to have so much diversity. And it should be something that's cherished and embraced, instead of something that makes us feel like we're in competition with each other. But that goes to placing more value in the collective belief systems than having the security in your own, because you can still exist in a world where all of these things exist, but it not eat at your self-image so bad. That just means that you don't have a strong enough self-image or belief in yourself to be secure without needing validation from outside sources. It's switching back and making yourself the validation, and stop placing negative beliefs based off of skin complexion. Like, we're all valuable in our own way, but it's never something to say that someone's literal existence in this world is something that affects my worth and my value. We were never supposed to buy into that belief, but unfortunately a lot of us still do, which is why it gets such a aggressive response and creates so many arguments and things like that online, especially because of social media. Things get widespread so fast that it's easy to have people arguing and spread more hatred instead of spreading unity and things of that nature. But yeah, I think we just have to stop placing negative meanings about our skin color and how we look, and just let go of this need to compare. If you truly accepted and loved yourself and had that security, nobody else's existence or, unique expression should trigger you to the point where you're hating on people that you literally don't even know, and having your own assumptions being projected but still not taking accountability for it. So I think you can repurpose colorism just to help you see how to value yourself and value and appreciate others, allowing people to exist without meaning something about your own inner value. So it's really about challenging your belief systems and look at your own self-image and your identity and who you believe you are in relationship to your external life reality. Being able to practice neutrality is going to be key, because even with any assumption or any manifestation, when you start affirming for something or start changing something and you believe that reality isn't changing, or it looks the same, or you're still observing, colorism and other things like that outside of you, you might feel like, oh, manifesting isn't working or it's not true. But every assumption that we create starts off being false, but we still have to keep practicing it and use repetition to allow our reality to conform and reflect a more peaceful nature. So it's just being able to observe things without being affected by it, And that takes practice, but even if you react, it still doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. You just need to give yourself the consistency and give yourself the grace to say, you know what, this is an assumption that I had my entire life and always was exposed to, but I'm willing to keep going for the sake of my peace and happiness of others around me. So it's really using your power of focus to recognize that you're creating your reality, and everybody else is creating their own reality too. And you can manifest for other people that they don't have to experience judgments or biases. But I think if you just have your own natural assumption that everybody is peaceful and happy in life, you're naturally going to see people giving those expressions of themselves. Like the peaceful versions of people will start being reflected, and anybody's who's not peaceful just won't be able to show up in your reality if you're truly being that peaceful identity. So it's really just having that inner validation and knowing that you're the creator of your reality. And if you truly believe that, then everything else is going to automatically be a reflection of that. And I hope that I'm kind of clear, because I know I've been going fast and I wasn't sure if I should keep the music going, but I felt like there were some distractions in the background that I wanted to make sure didn't come up. But I'm going to try to put the music at a good level where it's not too much. But yeah, I think you have to see what you could have learned from this or what's trying to come up in your awareness. A lot of times we just have our own insecurities, and until we take responsibility for those insecurities and maybe not feeling like we are valued enough, and being able to bring that in and give yourself the validation that you felt like you didn't receive from other people, naturally you'll start getting better treatment once you believe that validating yourself is good enough. And the last thing I want to say is just appreciate diversity in your ethnicity group. So I definitely appreciate my dark skinned sisters because y'all have some beautiful skin. It looks so nice, especially when it's glowing. And I also seen some of my light skinned girls too, because I'm light skinned as well. I love just seeing beautiful, clear skin, and I'm learning to appreciate that more and more. And it does inspire. Sorry, it got cut off. But yeah, it inspires me to see other reflections of beauty. At least in my mind, if I believe something's beautiful, I'll appreciate it instead of being jealous, and use that as motivation for, if I want clearer skin, let me manifest that. And if I see people around me with clear skin, instead of being jealous or use it as evidence of my lack and my manifestation not working, see that as proof. When you put your awareness on manifesting stuff and then you start seeing it pop up more and more in your reality, that's evidence of your manifestation. So I'm definitely using that to help myself feel more confident and see like, okay, I'm seeing this and I know that I'm working on my own image and my physical appearance is gonna manifest. So let me just keep appreciating things and changing how I look at the things around me. It's not that your reality outside of you changes, it's that you shift to the reality. You shift in your mind, in your perspective, and then you'll start seeing whatever things that you want to manifest be different. But when it's concepts and ideas like this, it can be a bit more challenging at times to see changes being reflected because it's more of a concept and a belief system versus an actual manifestation.